G'day, my name's Marky, and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. Hope you enjoy the episode. Am I the asshole here for prioritizing my nephew and niece over my own children after they hid their mum's affair from her for years? I, 57 male, was married to my wife for almost 25 years, and we divorced 4 years ago after I found out about her infidelity. She had an affair partner for almost 5 years. The whole process hurt me a lot because everything I did in life, I did for my wife and kids, and to now find that out about my wife, it just hurts me. My 2 children, 29 female and 26 male, had known about the affair for years, and they had hidden it from me. They both felt very guilty about it, and I don't blame them because they didn't want to break up their family. My daughter even cried a lot and apologized a lot of times, but I told her that it was alright. They had their own life now, and I didn't want this eating them up, so I told them to let go of the guilt. However, ever since I found out that they had hidden the affair from me, I lost a lot of love for them. I wasn't going to cut them out of the inheritance or will or anything like that, but emotionally, I couldn't connect with them at all. I also have a niece, 30 female, and a nephew, 28 male, who I have been very close with, especially since their father passed away at a very young age. I played a father-like role during their early years because losing her husband at such a young age was very tough for my sister. Over the last 4 years, I've also been looking forward to spending more time with them. Both my niece and nephew have children, and they have invited me over for their children's birthdays. They have also invited me over for their own birthdays, on Father's Day, and on holidays. Overall, we're a very tight-knit, multi-generational family, and I'm very proud to be a grandpa to their children, and we are already developing a bond. However, in doing so, I have lost all interest in connecting with my own children. My daughter has 2 children, while my son has his first child on the way. They've invited me over multiple times, but I've told them that I'm busy. I rarely go over, if at all, and I've missed almost all of their children's special occasions. I'm not really interested in being a grandpa to their children. Monetarily, sure, I have been sending them gifts, but I just don't feel like seeing them at all. My daughter especially seems very hurt by it at times, but I hope that she understands the reason for this. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Ches says, "Not the asshole for prioritizing your niece and nephew, but you do need to be honest with your children and tell them that they lost your trust when they didn't tell you about their mother's affair. Telling them not to feel guilty about it was obviously a kindness from you to make them feel better, but you should have also told them that, even though you don't want them to suffer from the guilt, you also don't trust them. It's more than that though. They caused irreparable damage to their relationship, and he has forgiven, but he can't forget and pretend that they're cool. If he tells them that he has lost trust, they may try to work on it and increase their contact. If he explains that he understands why they did what they did, and that he forgives them, but he's not able to forget, maybe they'll see that this is direct consequence of their actions. The shame is that it isn't OP's grandkids' fault, and now his ex-wife has taken away his marriage, kids, and grandkids from him, which is so sad. This is how damaging affairs can be. You're not just messing up your life or your relationship with your spouse, you hurt everyone in the nuclear family and splash damage beyond. OP, this was all your wife's doing. She was the one who cheated. She was the one who put your children in a position to hide what they discovered in the first place. She's the one who continued with her affair partner instead of stopping right then and there. They knew that it was wrong of their mother, but talk about being between a rock and a hard spot. Do we tell Dad and break his heart? Break up his marriage to our mother, who will be devastated too? Uproot our whole lives because we told? Are we now to blame because we didn't want to ruin a whole marriage and family dynamic? Or do we hope to God that this all goes away and this family can get back to normal? Your children are your responsibility to protect, not the other way around. Your wife forced that upon them. Doing so ruined your relationship with her and with them. You would do yourself a great service to go to counseling. It's just too much to bear alone. Good luck, OP. I truly hope that you think about and repair your relationship. They are just as much a victim as you are. In some ways, I understand why you do like you do, but I think that it was a mistake to tell your kids to let go of the guilt, because clearly you were very hurt by their actions, and this will never be fixed if you and your children don't talk about it and they make amends. Of course, if you don't want to be a part of their life, then it's not something to fix, but if you want to have any interaction with your children and grandchildren, you need to make them understand how they have hurt you. But you are not the asshole. Your children did betray you, perhaps not as much as your ex-wife, but on the same level. So if you don't want anything to do with them, then it would be understandable. Yeah, this is an incredibly difficult one because where to go from here depends entirely on what OP wants. And it seems like, from their actions and from their words, they just only want to prioritize the nephew and niece. But reading between the lines and how I perceive OP's kind of mixed messages here is that they regret not having a relationship with their kids and grandkids, but don't know how to bridge that gap and don't know how to correct course. Because given the context of everything, of course you're not the asshole for your actions. It's completely understandable to want to keep those boundaries. But if there's a nagging voice inside of OP that regrets completely cutting their kids off and not spending any time with them, might this be one of those situations where they're sitting on their deathbed, thinking back on their life and regretting things that they could have done? Incredibly tough decision to make, in all honesty. And now, onto the updates. Thank you all for the advice. The one thing that I got most from the comments was that my children deserve to know the truth and to not be left in a limbo like it was for years. And that's what I just did. I just got off a video call with my daughter and my son. The call was pretty rough and extremely emotional, but I got everything off my chest. I told them that while I had forgiven them, I could never forget it, and that for my mental health, it was better that we limit our interactions. I told them to not feel guilty about anything, but that also after dedicating more than half of my life to my wife and children, it was time that I put myself first. I told them that my heart wasn't in it to be a grandparent to their children. I was also honest with them and told them my heart was only in it for my nephews and nieces' kids, and whenever I did go to their house, I felt joy, while for my own children, I felt nothing. My children probably already knew that, but I wanted them to hear it directly from me. It was really hard to get it off my chest and say it directly to my children's faces. I told them they were still welcome to come to my house anytime and call me anytime they needed help. Both my children took the call really hard, but I think my daughter took it worst. Those were really ugly tears, and I felt really bad about it, but I do feel a sense of relief, and I have pretty much told all of my feelings to my children and didn't keep anything secret. I can now move forward with my life, and so can my children. In the comments, sad situation all around. Horrible, really. There is no legitimate way to judge this one. I just know from personal experience that OP and his children will all come to hate and regret this entire mess someday, when it's too late and he is dead most likely. Sometimes you just don't get closure. Sometimes there is no resolution, no forgiveness, no redemption, just an ending. My mother was wonderful the first half of my childhood, had a mental break, and became monstrously abusive from the ages of 13 to 20. Left me with so many mental issues and no tools to cope with them or language to identify them. Just after the birth of my first child, I invited my whole family to travel up and see the baby. She and I hadn't spoken in months and hadn't seen each other in years. On the second day of the visit, she dropped stone dead to the floor from a massive heart attack. I was 26. Oh my god. Oh my god. Life really is unfair. In my opinion, the measure of a person is really how they react to adversity and then how they react to that reaction. I didn't get closure, and I behaved really poorly that year and the next 3 years after. My grief was toxic, and I poisoned everything I touched with it. I damn near ruined my life, and I damn near ended it. But at some point, I stopped reacting and took stock. I started getting my life back on track. Those ugly years motivated me to be better and to get help, and most importantly, to allow myself to actually think about every thought and memory that I was hiding from. 12 years later, and I still don't have closure. I know and accept that I never will, but what I have found instead is a kind of peace on the subject of mum. I've examined my whole life with her from every possible angle, dozens of times over, to the point of exhaustion. And now it just is. I've lived nearly as long without her as I did with her. She's just dead now, and that means what it means. I'm not sure that I actually need that closure anymore. It wouldn't change the past or give me anything that I can't give myself. I have allowed myself to be at peace. It still aches to think of what I lost and what could have been, but I honestly don't think about it much at all. I'm too busy living to be focused on the dead. Moving on from that story, someone asks OP, but wait, did they just accept it or begged for a chance? Also, did your kids' relationship with their mother suffer? OP replies, they didn't beg, but they did apologize a lot and also cried. And they asked me to reconsider. I told them I would, but for now, I would rather that we limit the interactions. Yes, their relationship with their mother has also suffered a lot. I see, man. Let me tell you, screw what Reddit says, whether you are right or wrong, do what is best for you. For once, think only of yourself. His wife betrayed him, but his kids were his own blood. I probably understand why this hurts twice as much for OP. This seems more like no assholes here, apart from the wife. What all the commenters blaming the kids are missing is the power dynamic in a parent-child relationship. 17-year-olds may be old enough to know better, but psychologically and emotionally are still very much children. I don't know how to cap this one off because there's just so much unsaid, and like that anecdotal story there, sometimes it just is. Sometimes you just don't get closure, a resolution, forgiveness, no redemption, just an ending. I'm sad that OP didn't want to pursue a relationship with his children, because for me, that's what I want to see him do, but that's not realistic. I wish OP all the best in navigating the rest of their life, and I hope that they can come to peace with their own actions and the situation as a whole. As always, thank you for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by user ThrowALady, titled, I, 22 female, think I need to break up with my boyfriend, 23 male, of 8 years. Wow. Okay, where to begin? So we've been dating for 8 years, we met in high school, and have been together ever since. We've grown and changed with each other, miraculously, and our relationship has been amazing. We were always communicative to each other, always doted on one another, have inside jokes that are years long, and have become so comfortable with who we are as a couple. Our relationship, by all means, is a wonderful one. But I guess I wouldn't be posting here if it was so wonderful now, would I? As we've entered into adulthood, I started asking the bigger questions that I realized I wasn't really getting answers on. He's been against having kids, but I want kids. My biggest advice that I received was to wait for his real answer when we were older, because I asked these questions after dating for 4 years. I asked him what he wanted to do with his future, where he saw himself career-wise, and what he was feeling about who he was as a person, if he was changing and growing. To be honest, whenever we speak about these things, I always feel like it gets really quiet. He becomes shorter with his words, a lot of I don't knows. After asking questions many times, I get some answers once he's thought about it, but this scenario has always been a regular for us. I'm asking bigger questions, trying to get feedback, and he gives little answers and asks to think about them. But we have always moved along. Next day, next season. We are really happy with each other. We cuddle and watch Netflix TV shows. We go to the ice rink. We're having romantic dinners and tell each other how much we adore one another, but those questions start to bother me. Why doesn't he want to answer them? Why doesn't he ask those about me? Is it necessarily bad that he doesn't want to ask me? I mean, we're only in our 20s, but we've been dating for 8 years. The toss and turn was agonizing. I feel like I was waiting for an answer for a question that I asked years ago, regardless of the timeline. I felt more and more pressure to have them answered because we've been talking about marriage. When I would forget that those questions were so important to me, everything was hunky-dory. We'd talk about where we would live, the animals we would have, and name them, the kinds of TV shows that we'd watch on a weekly basis. I pushed the issues that I'd been feeling in my core back inside because I figured that if I'm a patient girlfriend, a loving one, a supportive one, then our relationship will get better. How long we've stayed together is a testament to our ability to grow together. We've done it for this long, so why wouldn't it continue happening? But it hasn't. It really hasn't, guys. This last weekend, something snapped. We were looking for places to live. We had 3 appointments. I was looking around the apartment, looking at the kitchen, looking at our bedroom, when we kissed each other goodbye after a post-appointment cuddle/nap, and I went back home. I burst out crying in the car. I was sobbing. When I got home, I called my mum, she came over, I was broken. Something died. Something straight up died. I don't know what's going on. I think I need to break up with him. I don't think that this is the kind of change that I can ask of him. I don't think asking him to change is fair. It's not that I haven't been patient. I have. He has been giving me his answers to all my questions. I just haven't been happy with what they are. The silence, the skirting around the topic, the I don't knows. I thought we could grow through any scenario, but moving in together put it all into perspective for me. I am not ready to move in with this guy. Earlier in the year, he told me that he was alright with kids, with having them too. And after that conversation, such a huge flood of relief hit me that I think spurred this season of ignorance. He answered my biggest, big questions, so I was happy. But the reality is setting in. Does he really mean that? Did he say that to appease my asking? He has told me that I'm the best thing to happen to him, that he loves me, and that I inspire him to be a better person, and that he's happy that he's with me because he wouldn't know how to date anyone else at this point since we've been together for so long. I wish he had the motivation and drive and a goal for himself. I wish he thought about his future. I wish he was more excited about life, more positive about life. I wish he wasn't so angry at people and himself. I wish he approached his problems readily and openly. I wish he was more emotionally available. I wish I knew how to do this without destroying him, because I think it will. His family would all turn on him. I know it. We've been talking about marriage, we're looking at places to live together, and I just imploded. I imploded. My gut is telling me to do this, and it's never been wrong. But how? How on earth do I do this? In the comments, Acute and Mauricium says, "Hi, what you wrote really impacted me, and I would like to thank you for sharing that. I too have been feeling the same way as you in my own relationship, but I haven't been able to process the words. I don't really have advice. I haven't dealt with my situation, but what I will say is this. It is possible to grow from here. You are young, your future is bright, and you know what you want in life. You are too young to settle on the things that you will grow into. If you do break up, it won't be easy, but you sure as hell will make it through." There's been a quote that's been ringing through my head the past couple of days. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the things that you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. Mark Twain. I hope that you find what is best for you. OP replies, "I couldn't even read that entire quote. I started tearing up. There are 2 sides to me. The side that is firm in her decision, understands she made it long ago, and was waiting for the other half of me to wake up. Then the other side is the side that loves him, loves what we are, loves who he is, and is blissfully ignorant. Thank you for your encouragement. There is growth that can come from this. I don't want to settle. I don't want to be unhappy. I just thought that it was him for the longest time. And now it's not. I'll be okay, but holy shit, this is going to hurt, and I'm the one who's doing it. To him, his family, our friends, 8 years builds a huge network, and I'll be shutting part of it down. I'll recover. I know people will be okay, and I'll be okay, but causing hurt is just not what I do. But I can do it if it's for myself. Quotes, I wish he wasn't so angry at people and himself. There's something here. What is he angry about? OP says, he gets angry at people online. Angry at bad drivers on the road. He's just like me, for real. He gets angry when he's competitive. He gets angry when things don't happen like they should. I've told him that he needs to see someone about it, but he hates therapists. He's just like me, for real. He has a lot of resentment in his heart. When it's good, it's great, but when it's bad, it's awful. He's never violent, but he raises his voice, curses, and flips things over sometimes, like controllers or folders. I've never felt alright about it. Whenever he would start doing that stuff to me, I would put my foot down and let him know very clearly that he is never to treat me that way. It's the single thing that I've been unrelenting and strong about. He promised me the next time that it became a problem, he would see someone about it, but there has been little outbursts that don't warrant a problem, but are enough to put me on edge. This is a problem that he doesn't want to address for painful reasons, I think, but it's definitely added to the problem of me not wanting to be with him in the long term unless he got help and figured it out. OP, when told that she's not done growing and to be the best version of herself, says, "This is so real. And this is exactly why I posted on Reddit. And in a small way, even though I know he thinks I'm great too, I'd like to think that there's a best version of a partner out there for him too." Back up to the post, there's an edit. "Thank you everyone, so much for your comments. All of them. I've read every one. I think after the initial hysteria and realization of what I was feeling and putting it into written word, that I've come to realize what I am truly feeling. I'll post an update after this weekend when I talk to him. I'll tell you how it goes." Yeah, you guys have both changed so much as people throughout those 8 years, and I don't expect him to have an answer for kids at this point. While yes, it is understandable to be upset with him for being wishy-washy on those things, it seems to me that if he's not going, "I'm too young for kids right now, but I'm definitely open to them when we're older and more established," then it's a little bit less understandable, you know? Couple that with the emotional outbursts and not wanting to seek therapy. I know I made that joke, okay, it's a joke. Maybe it's time for that other half of yourself that is more ignorant and that is being placated by him to, stop taking the spotlight so much. The fact that you're posting on Reddit and you're spilling your guts to us says that you need validation and you need to be told that it's okay to break up with him. Because if you genuinely don't see a future with him because of the snowball effect of these big issues, you should just put yourself first and do what is right for you. There is always going to be someone else out there for the both of you. And now, on to the updates. So the big conversation happened on Friday, a day earlier than what I was expecting. After writing this post and speaking to trusted family and friends, I decided I didn't want to wake up like I had all week, feeling like shit anymore. I would open my eyes and just immediately feel that familiar pain in my chest. I wanted it to be over. He had been texting me normally in the week, so I knew he wasn't expecting this. It made it so much harder. That part wasn't easy, texting him back very plainly to avoid lying or leading him on. But I asked him if he'd like to meet on Friday, and he said he'd love to. So I went over in the morning after running a few errands with my brother. He drove what he called the getaway car and said he'd pick me up when it was over. It was so hard. His family was decorating the house for Christmas. As soon as I got there, his mother asked me to help drape some garland across the front porch. I stood there with my heart in my throat, helping her out. As soon as I found a window, I walked into the house and found him in the kitchen. He was still in his pajamas. I asked if we could talk in his room, and he said sure. He wrapped me in a hug and rubbed my back, and it took everything not to cry right then. We walked up the stairs to his room. I closed the door and gave him one last, huge hug in the privacy of his room. I took a breath and then asked if we could sit down. I sat crisscross and began. I told him that I had been in so much pain since we came back after looking at places to live together. I told him that I didn't think that we should live together. I told him that was because I didn't think that we should be together. I told him that it wasn't his fault, that this wasn't because he had done something wrong. I told him that I felt like there was something wrong with our relationship, and that I knew moving in together wasn't the right choice for us, and ultimately, committing to each other like that wasn't the right choice for me. I told him that I wasn't able to commit to him in that way when the choice came. I told him that it wasn't a smooth transition, that this decision came at me all at once like a freight train. I told him that I was sorry. He asked me why I was doing this. He looked absolutely shocked. He told me that he thought that everything was perfect and that he didn't understand why I was saying this. He asked me where we should go from here. I told him that I wanted to talk this out, since we've been together for so long. I told him I wasn't going to waver in my decision because I felt like it was the right choice to make, but I wanted to talk it out. Instead, he went to his dresser, got out of his pajamas, got into a change of clothes, grabbed his backpack, and left. His mother asked him for more Christmas help, but as far as I knew, he walked by her. I sat there in shock, I guess. Before he left, he said, "See you Saturday," because our friends were having a Friendsgiving. I could feel the hysteria come on. It was like a tidal wave, the reality of what I'd just done. It was like every elegant, composed, logical reason that I had for breaking up went right out the window. Every graceful approach I was going to take this conversation in just blanked on me. I was simply honest and raw, and now I felt like the shittiest person that I'd ever known. I got my shoes on and flew down the stairs. His mother was asking me for more Christmas help, but in the first time in years, I ignored her and ran out the front door. I was walking away from his house. After I reached the street, she came outside. I could hear her steps behind me. She called out my name with the same urgency that you call out to someone as if they forgot something in the house. I didn't turn around, and she called out my name louder again, and I rounded the corner towards the rest of the neighborhood. I then called my brother and asked him to pick me up. He was there in 2 seconds. The car was still moving as I opened the door and slid inside, and I was out of there. That was by far the hardest thing I've ever done. I was sobbing. My brother held my hand. It was loud, heartbreaking sobbing. I can't believe that I'd ended an 8-year relationship, but I did. I went home and my family was all there. They all comforted me through it and told me their breakup stories of their first loves. That was Friday. Today, Monday, I have to say it was absolutely the correct decision for me to make. After the initial tears, hysteria, and destruction, I realized I had needed to make that decision for a long time. I feel fuller in a way, if that makes sense, and I'm excited for what's to come for me. Thank you all for your words of wisdom, your insights, and your support. I really appreciated all of your comments, and I read them a few times a day to give me strength in my down moments. I've gotten to the other side of this, and I appreciate all of your inputs. In the comments, Korean says, "You sound extremely mature for 22. Because of the fact that you were with your boyfriend for 8 years, I imagine your lives were intertwined. Down the road, it's possible that you will miss him, miss the relationship, miss everything that you two shared, and may feel like you've made a huge mistake. It's all normal to feel that way, and if you do, please do not hesitate to talk to your supportive family and friends." OP replies, "I'm prepared for the idea that I'll miss absolutely everything. I'm either really well adjusted, or this is just a phase before I go back into feeling awful. Either way, in this clear mindset, I'm bracing for it and trusting my conviction." Oh man, I know exactly how you feel. I ended an 8-year relationship about 3 years ago. While I broke the news to him, there was this loud scream in my head to stop, stop, stop. But after the hysteria settled, I knew that I made the right choice. I was surprised by how quickly my ex moved on. I moved on too though, which made me realize that perhaps he wasn't totally happy either. Good luck to you. OP replies, "Oh my god, I know what you mean about the screaming. It feels like there was a spirit inside of me throwing chairs around my head, screaming, "Why have you done this? Why would you? Stop! Go back! Take it back!" It was agonizing. Change is hard, but I had no idea the mental warfare that I would experience. I thought that it was all just heartache. Thank you for the well wishes. Opie added this comment about her brother. "You're right, I didn't go Saturday." A small discovery throughout all of this is that my brother and I aren't particularly close. We've had a rough childhood with our dad, and he moved to Seattle out of college. Him holding my hand throughout all of this was the most brotherly thing that he has done. I will remember that forever. I really feel closer to him now. Forgiven Madness says, "That initial regret, hysteria, and fear that hits when you break up with someone you really care about, but isn't good for you, it's intense. I still remember that feeling, even though it's been 10 years. I also remember the relief I felt when it passed, and the freedom. OP has a stronger back than me. It took me 3 tries to get over that initial hump." My pseudo-psychological reasoning for this is that we are wired to bond. It's not that long, in the development of humanity, since being closely bonded to others was a matter of survival, and there wouldn't be many options if you pulled away. And pulling away would be seen as unusual, so you might have a hard time finding someone else. Our situations are mostly different now, but we're still wired to bond, and somewhere within us there can be a feeling that staying bonded is a matter of survival. Survival instincts are extremely powerful, but we can recognize that this particular instinct can be counterproductive for us. And of course, she also felt that she was abandoning someone she loved. He at least made it pretty easy to disengage as well. He didn't try to beg or talk her out of it, he just left. The ex that I had so much trouble breaking up with threatened to hurt herself, begged, pleaded, and cried. She was my abuser, so we had that trauma bond as well. It's wild how our brains work. As bad as some people are for us, we still like the stability and comfort of knowing what we are getting even if it is not great. It's the reason why people stay at jobs they hate for so long. Relationships are even more complex, as there's usually good with the bad or other challenges that make it so hard to leave, like knowing their family or living together. And back up to the post, there is an edit. To be honest, I'm shocked again at the response. Thank you all, even the people who don't agree with my decision. If I were to respond to all of you and include every single detail of our relationship to try and justify myself, I think it would defeat the point of reading your honest responses, because that's what I'll be dealing with going forward. I appreciate every comment. I've gone through and read them all. Thank you for your eyes and time spent giving your input. And that's all I have for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.